Hello Internet, my name is Billy, and this is your guide to the Ventureverse, a YouTube series in which I look at each episode of the Venture Brothers and give a brief synopsis, point out interesting facts, talk about its place in the greater canon of the show, and finish it off with some personal opinions that I will not be debating in the comments. In today's episode, we will discuss Season 1, Episode 3 of the Venture Brothers Mid-life Chrysalis. This episode first aired on September 25th, 2004. Let's get into it. Brock discovers that his license to kill has expired, leaving him feeling empty and needing to pass an exam to renew it. Meanwhile, Dr. Venture has a bit of a midlife crisis and ends up picking up a woman at a bar. That woman turns out to be Dr. Girlfriend, who goes home with him just to inject him with a serum that will turn him into a caterpillar. This being the third episode of the series is a little complicated. It's listed as third on the DVD sets and in the Art and Making of the Venture Brothers book, but it's the 8th in air date, which Hulu, for example, follows. In the end, it doesn't really affect anything if you watch this out of order, but this being episode 3 is the intended order. In a direct reference to Johnny Quest, we see Brock covered in purple body paint take out some dudes. Jackson and Doc explain.
Yes, that is from a Johnny Quest episode.
A legendary one where
Racist
dyes
Bannon.
himself, yes, Race Bannon dyes himself purple with berries and pretends to be somebody's god and actually calls them like dirty savages.
Yes, ignorant savages.
Ignorant
Savages. Racist Bannon shoots out of the water and just starts yelling at people for not believing in Jesus.
This is the first we hear about the OSI, or the Office of Secret Intelligence, the organization that Brock spends much of the series working for. We catch up with Dr. Venture midway through a story while attempting to flirt.
Well, that uppity little TA didn't give me any more trouble the rest of the semester.
I suppose that anyone could be having this exchange with an uppity little TA, or that Dr. Venture could be making shit up, but this seems to imply that Dr. Venture was a professor at some point in time. This has never come up again, and is definitely not the case of the Dr. Venture we know today. So I went into this episode kind of dreading it because I don't really care for this episode and felt like I've been very negative the past couple episodes already. But then I watched this episode and I couldn't really pinpoint anything specifically that I didn't like. Ultimately, I guess what I don't like is Dr. Venture turning into a caterpillar. That sort of thing just feels a little more wacky maybe than the rest of the series. I mean, typically Monarch arches Dr. Venture by just kind of messing with him. But turning him into a giant caterpillar honestly feels bigger than what the Monarch typically does. That said, I don't really have any other complaints about this episode. This episode gets referenced at least 3 times in the future that I can think of off the top of my head, which is always fun. It's pretty clever having Dr. Venture and Brock having dueling crises. A villain masturbating to their girlfriend seducing their nemesis is not something you see every day. And I love Hank and Dean just kind of hanging around the compound doing normal dumb teenage boy stuff. So in the end, I do like this episode. I've got no beef with it. I just think that Dr. Venture turning into a caterpillar is the sort of thing that wouldn't happen later in the series and therefore feels a little weird to watch in hindsight. As always, thank you for watching and go Team Venture. Tune in next week for Eeny, Meeny, Miny Magic. And if there was some huge glaring thing that I missed in this video, subscribe to my Patreon to see these videos a week early and offer your input before I upload the final product.